Bean's theme tune really gets stuck in my head. You know that one that goes doon 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 doon. That one. It's probably gonna get stuck in your head now too. And welcome to the Ribbon Tuesday. My name is Ribbon, and this is my review for Netflix's original animated series, Disenchantment Season 3. Let me know which of the first two seasons you've enjoyed the most, who's your favourite character. Do give this video a thumbs up, it does help loads. But for now, let's get into the review. The review. Wow. Learn to speak, Ruben. So at the end of Season 2, we saw Bean basically framed for shooting her father with the pew-pew, with a gun that shouldn't exist, but from SteamWorld, or Steamland, there is this gun that mimics a real gun, and her father gets shot. It's accidental, and they're basically saying that she's responsible for that, and so she has to flee. Then right at the end, we see Bean underneath the city of her own city, and she encounters who we think is her mother, and that's where it ends. And Season 3 picks up with that, and so we get 10 episodes. I have to say that this season for me, I think, is my most enjoyable so far. Out of the 10 episodes, it's very much story arc driven, which is where I think they weren't quite sure what they were doing with it in the first season. It was episodic in nature, and towards the end of the first season, they started to kind of delve into the arc, and then second season, they definitely started going more into arc, but was still episodic in nature. Season 3 is an arc, so we do have individual titled episodes, and that thing happens, whatever that title is, it's going to be about that character. But it is driven completely by one singular arc, which is Bean has to protect her homeland. Bean has to free her name. Bean has to go on adventures in other lands. Bean has to help her father. Luci, Bean, and Elfo.
Everybody ready? Go!
That'll be hilarious. Can you imagine? No. Elfo are a team, kind of. I do have one gripe before I get into the things that I really enjoyed about this season, is that it does feel like Luci in this season has kind of been left to the wayside. There's a few episodes where he's not even with the gang, where he's left in the homeland, in Dreamland, and it just feels like he's a side character in this series, although he does get some moments to shine, and he does have that dialogue that makes you go, whoa, only you could say that. For the most part, I was really hoping that we'd get some more fleshed out story. Bean gets a lot more fleshed out story. Elfo gets more fleshed out story, but it does feel like Luci is left to the wayside. I was hoping to get some lore about what it is that he's done, because they kind of bring it to light, like him having been with Bean and Luci, the repercussions of that, and I quite like that. I wanted to go down that path. That doesn't happen, so I'm hoping that in Season 4, which they definitely will be, they'll delve more into his character. But for the most part, this 10 episodes are about Bean and Elfo. If you've seen the trailer, you'll know that there's a new location in Steamland, which I think is the shining light in this series. I loved all the character creations, the way they made this world come alive, the way you kind of thinking, but this is just Steam, can you really have all of this? The intricacies of Steamland, it feels like a vibrant metropolis, and I think that's what it's meant to. It's a massive contrast to Fantasyland, with magic and elves and unicorns and gnomes and, all of those kind of things. And then we have non-magics, but all the intricacies that you get with mechanical machines and steam-powered machines, and very much similar to our world, but way back in Steamland. And so those two contradictions work well to see Bean kind of being a fish out of water. There's a reason why she's there. She meets someone as well, and that kind of brings to fruition the story where it comes together. And I really enjoyed the arc once you get past episode 3, because it really does take a few episodes for the story arc to sink in. It's kind of the first episode is kind of catching up with what's gone on and how they're going to start unraveling an arc. Episode 2 and 3 is kind of getting you into grips with oh yes, this is what I'm watching, Disenchantment. It's that weird story that's not quite Simpsons, not quite Futurama. It is doing its own thing now, and and is not as funny as those because it's not trying to be. The funny definitely comes in when you catch yourself like in taking a breath, which I found myself doing that quite a lot, because it's a line that you will just be a passing line, a passing dialogue line, and you will go, oh, right. Or your brain will catch up with what's been said. And I feel like that's where the fun is going to come in when you watch it repeatedly, because then you caught things that possibly you missed the first time round with dialogue, or you caught things the third time round in the background with characters are doing some certain things, which I love. That, for me, the depth of the storyline sometimes, or the depth of the comedy, it's not like barely laughing out moments like, this is now a joke. It's more clever in the dialogue and the scripting, which I really appreciate. So it took me a while. It took me a couple of episodes to get back into what it was, and then once I felt like it really found its footing is when the arc kicks in and you start getting to grips with what the story is. I really do like the character journeys in this. There's multiple new relationships, romantic relationships, that I thought was interesting. I know a few people are going to have some issues with a couple of the relationships because of the time we live in now, so I'll just brace myself for that. There's some really great nods to like our world and jokes, and like relevant jokes that I think adults will get, maybe not so much teens. So if there's adults watching with families, I think you will enjoy this. Like mentions of SEAL Team 6, there's definitely a Trump-esque joke that is in there, whether you take it as that or not. I definitely did. So there's moments that kind of reflects real life and the moments that they find themselves in, or the situations they find themselves in. I think when you can relate it to your own life, or the stuff going around in your own life, like in the world, then I think that worked quite well, because it helps to put you kind of in their shoes, although it's a fantasy entertainment animated series, like with trolls, magic, and steampunk stuff. But when you can relate somewhat to characters, and then it gets into that fantasy adventure, it makes it more relatable and more fun to be a viewer, which I really appreciated. I really feel like the tone is the right way now. It leaves off on a massive cliffhanger, and I don't think that's a spoiler. You just get to, there's going to be more seasons. The other seasons have also been left on cliffhangers. At least I think it was the end of season 1, we had a little clip letting us know what's going to happen at the end of episode 10, I think, and we were like, oh, okay, there's something more going on with Elfo. This time around, there isn't any clip. I watched right until the end of the credits, even those bits where you get Netflix in different countries, it has those languages, and you're like, what? So I thought, why? Just give us something, because the cliffhanger itself was a little bit annoying, because you have your characters positioned all over the board. Everybody is basically doing something that's integral, important, and it's like having 12 cliffhangers in various different places. There's so many storylines that are left just on edge, and now we're gonna have to wait another year to watch the next season. I know people in the comments normally at about this time, when they're like, no, I'm sure they won't leave it like this. It'll only be 6 months. I know they filmed some of it. They've created some of it. I'm sure they won't leave us hanging there. I think with COVID and stuff, it'll be at least a year, which is disappointing, because it's a fantastic story, and it's always that moment that kind of, it's a bingeable series, and the ending feels like it's a bingeable moment. So you get to that moment, and you're like, what's going to happen? I will do an ending spoiler talk, so we can talk to our heart's content. But for now, I've really enjoyed this. I'm going to give it an A-. I think it's the stronger of the 3. I've enjoyed it. I feel like it's found its footing. There's some really great voice work. There's some characters, which I'm not going to mention their names, because that is a spoiler, because when you know that character, you know the type of voice they'll probably do. So I'm just saying that there's some recurring characters that I've really enjoyed, and there are also some new ones that we haven't had yet, but I think are a fantastic addition to the series. So if you like the first 2 seasons, I think you're going to love this one. I feel like it's found its footing now. So chat to me in the comments below. Who's your favourite character? What were you expecting from this? What are you expecting from season 4? Thanks so much for watching this. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long Tuesday.